All right, welcome back to Mostly Sports with Mike and Jay. I am Mike, that's Jay. We are getting a tremendous response. Twitter, text, on the message board for UBN. Wayne Morris just writing, Crunchwrap.
Maybe we should change the entire concept of the show.
I think we're talking controversial sports. Nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares about sports.
We bring in $1.29 Taco Bell.
Kardashians and the AM Crunchwrap.
I got my brother-in-law in Texas bad-mouthing you for Franklin.
Hey, bring it on,
You got
man.
one enemy in Texas already.
Just one?
I
need to work harder.
You're making enemies, I'm making friends. Rich Devlin, we're now friends on Facebook. Get us on Twitter, mostly Mike and Jay. We're going to be doing a lot of stupid stuff throughout the week. We're getting that YouTube channel going. We want to do some interactive stuff. We're going to be doing interviews, people on the street. We're going to try and get to as many sports games as possible. And apparently we're going to be doing a fast food tour with this response. I don't see how we can't.
You better ramp up the workouts, buddy. This is on TV as well.
Brutal.
Camera adds 10 pounds, buddy.
Now, did you watch the Preakness this weekend?
I didn't.
Weekend,
I've been to the Preakness.
So have I. Yeah, you're Philly, I'm New York.
That's right.
I did Belmont, I did Preakness. Never done Derby.
It's like the white trash version of the Kentucky Derby.
You get to just totally let loose. You could bring your Del Taco in and.
Now you did the infield, right?
Of course, you got
it. You have to do the infield. I don't know, you're part of the bourgeoisie. I could see you up with a big hat on, playing $50 trifectas and whatnot. And I'm down there shotgunning Milwaukee's best,
trying to get a $2 minimum, eating your Del Taco,
doing some beer bongs. When's the last time you did a beer bong?
Surprisingly, not too long ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me that story real quick.
I have a great picture of it.
It's been documented.
It's been documented. We were at my friend Ray's wedding. Beautiful wedding up at Mountain Gate Country Club, up in right by the Getty, up in Los Angeles, in between here in the valley.
Breathtaking.
And my buddy Chris, who you know pretty well, decided to bring a bong, hide it in the bushes for later. So we're keeping it classy. I mean, everybody was just trash. It was so much fun, and like an Indian wedding. It was my first Indian wedding. So much fun, like a whole 3-day long process.
Here's my question: at what point do you just see when it's acceptable to go to the bush and break out the beer bong?
We just felt it.
You just felt it. It was the moment.
I actually think it was the moment they started in with the electric slide. We said, all right, I'm done here. No, so we went outside, and it was like seeing, a mirage in the desert. It was so exciting to see the beer bong. So we threw a couple down. Chris started throwing up. I didn't know there was a camera around. And there's a great shot with the lights of L.A. right behind me. And I got it,
That's art.
Fully extended. It was good. It was delicious.
An Ansel Adams landscape right there. Beautiful.
The modern day Ansel Adams type stuff. But we got some horse racing controversy that was ironed out today. This is exactly probably what horse racing does not want, but 100% needs.
Why do you say they don't want it? Well, go ahead. Say what it is.
It's a classic sport that. Like golf. Golf wants to stay very conservative, and they don't like it when these, the John Daly's and these Ricky Fowlers come on the tour and start getting a little crazy.
Publicly,
but that's
they
what
don't.
Gets the rating.
Privately,
right.
They love it. So what's the deal with this horse? What came out today? You were telling me.
The deal was California Chrome, which won the Belmont Stakes, the Kentucky Derby, which a lot of people thought he got lucky. Won the second leg of the Triple Crown, which is the Preakness, and has a chance to go for the Belmont Stakes coming up in a few days.
No, a couple weeks. I think they take
2 weeks.
Yeah,
they take an extra week off for that. Yeah. Now, only 11 horses in the past 137 years since the Triple Crown has won it.
I have not researched any of this.
When was the last one?
It was. I think the last two were affirmed. In 1977.
Oh, so close.
78.
1978 affirmed.
But the year before, Seattle Slew.
Yes.
Is that right?
I don't know.
And then Secretariat and like Man of War. I can name a few, but
affirmed
was the last one. That's kind of crazy. That's a long time.
That's a long time. Now there have been a couple times. I was at one of the stakes when one of the horses, I forget who it was, had a chance at it.
Smarty Jones.
It might have been Smarty Jones.
Okay. Philly horse. Respect.
Sorry, lost my train of thought. My text messages are literally going crazy right now with fast food stuff.
Tell them to stop
places
texting
we're forgetting.
And
give us a call. You want to talk fast food? We can go back to that.
So what is it? They have the nasal strips. This horse wears
they're these little nasal strips. What are they, $3.99? You get them at CVS, Rite Aid.
$9 according to Darren Ravel on Twitter.
$9 for the horse version.
For the
bigger one. Basically, what they do, it's a nasal strip for you non-athletes who don't know. and it sticks very strongly onto your nose that it literally pulls your nostrils apart, and you can get a little more air in. They say on average about 10-11% more oxygen comes in.
How is that not cheating? Even for a human being.
Probably because this is so ridiculous, they never had to address this. They never thought they had to.
Okay.
But, we're talking about horse racing right now. We're talking mostly sports. We want to talk everything on this show.
So do you think, in New York, the state of New York, these things were outlawed, yeah? Is that what they were saying?
They were saying that it should be illegal for him. I mean, it's a leg up. Leg up is the wrong term, but it's an advantage that a horse is using, and especially these horse savants are saying that the Belmont course or the Belmont track is 1.5 miles, is a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. They were saying that, if this was the Derby, I forget who finished second, but he was coming up pretty quick. They were saying that this is going to be a photo finish, and California Chrome is most likely not going to be the favorite.
Really? Well, but they're going to let them throw these things on, and bottom line is they won a Triple Crown winner for the reason that 1978 was the last time this happened. That's too long.
Well, in 2012,
for this not to happen.
I'll have another. Bailed out. He won the first 2 legs and then bailed out on the third. And the ratings for the Belmont Stakes were at about 6.8 million viewers. Now,
how is Tobey Maguire not supposed to make a horse movie for the next 30 years? He's running out of horses to use.
I've tried watching that movie so many times and have never made it.
Yeah, I mean, horses are like these mythical creatures, man. So 20 or 30 years from now, they need to have a horse they can do it. Hey, nobody'd won the Triple Crown in 35 years, blah, 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 blah. They want this horse to win. Everybody in horse racing wants it to win.
Yeah.
They want it to be a big story.
NBC is dying.
Very cool.
In 2012, the ratings for the Belmont Stakes were 6.8 million viewers because there was no horse available. I'll have another bailed out on the race for health reasons, whatever. I have no idea. And NBC was projecting that if he would have ran, ratings would have been at about 13.4 million.
Wow.
So that would have doubled. So that's huge for NBC, for advertisers, all that stuff. And a little bit of controversy is good because people like us are talking about this right now.
Absolutely. And, this just gives another opportunity for Wes Welker to hand out $100 bills.
You think you should give that money back?
No. But for anybody that doesn't know the story, I'm sure you've seen it on some websites. Wes Welker, seen at the Kentucky Derby in a Buena Vista Social Club, awful fedora hat that I despise, was handing out $100 bills because he hit a $48,000 trifecta. Now, apparently, they overpaid him $6,000.
I think it was 14
grand.
Maybe?
Even that much more.
I think it was more, yeah.
And people were asking him for autographs, and he goes, instead of an autograph, would you like $100? And he was just literally handing out. So I think he gave away 7 of them before a mob started forming around him, and then the security guards forced him to stop handing them out. But yeah, do you give the money back? No. And to their credit, I read that the Kentucky Derby people, Churchill Downs people, said, we're not going to ask him to pay the money back. We just hope he comes back next year and wagers some of that money. Mm-hmm. Great response by them.
Great response.
Yeah, I mean, that's I thought that was great.
All right, moving on. That's enough horse racing.
That's enough horse racing.
We probably won't even cover the stakes. Big news today is that Kevin Love has stopped demanding a trade, but has told the Minnesota Timberwolves he is not interested in a contract extension, and he's going to want to go free agency after next season. Now, when something like this happens, we both listen to a lot of talk radio, a lot of sports. Everyone totally overreacts.
Always.
And they are talking about Kevin Love today, whichever team he's going to wind up on is a shoo-in for the finals next season. I totally disagree. Some of the places they're having him projected to go, I don't know if they're the best fit. What do you make of this whole story? A year and a half before free agency, or a year before free agency?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of boring that we kind of agree, but we talked about it a little bit before the show, is that, what is Kevin Love? I mean, Kevin Love has put up tremendous video game-like numbers for the last 2 or 3 years.
Sure thing, 20 for 10 every night.
Yeah, sure, even more. I mean, I guess he was probably 25 and 13.
Yeah. Great on DraftKings.
Great on
to pick on DraftKings.
He's a great daily
he's a lock
fantasy
every night.
Sports player. He's never played in a playoff game. In a league where half of the teams make the playoffs, he's literally never even played in a playoff game.
So we don't know how good he's going to be in those game 6, game 7s, clinching situations.
Are you ready to mortgage your team's future? Because any deal that Minnesota accepts, you better believe, is going to be very draft pick heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the assets. The assets that NBA teams acquire are draft picks and expiring contracts. having flexibility. That's all these GMs care about is flexibility. So anywhere he goes, it's going to be a king's ransom to get him. So if you're Kevin Love, you better be careful where you go that a team is not giving up so much that 2 or 3 years down the road after you've signed your max extension deal, that team has nowhere to go. Like the Brooklyn Nets, for example, or a prime example. They gave up. I mean,
you talked about this last week.
Yeah, they literally have no draft picks. They went for it all with KG and Paul Pierce. KG's on his last leg. He's probably done. Paul Pierce hinting at retirement. The Nets are going to go way downhill. Now the Celtics are going to have first-round picks for the next great trade. That's where Minnesota wants to be. They want to give him up, but they want to get draft picks back. And, he's never done anything. That's my only point. And if he goes to Golden State, that's like the big thing they're talking about. Maybe Golden State gives David Lee, Draymond Green, and Harrison Barnes, and they have a 2019 first-round pick. If you're the Golden State Warriors, I mean, it sounds great. It's great on paper, but you have a Steve Kerr's never coached before. Steph Curry and Kevin Love, as great as offensive players they are average defensive players at best. So all of a sudden, 2 of the 5 starters or 2 of the 5 guys on the floor at the end of the game are below average defenders. So you better have a great center behind Kevin Love that can guard people and protect the rim. And you better have Klay Thompson has proven to be a very good defender, but it's not a no-brainer. It's not Kevin Love goes to Chicago, which is where I think we agree would be a great place for him to go.
Anyone goes to Chicago, it's a great fit.
Well, because
they're one player away.
And he has Joakim Noah behind him, the defensive player of the year in the NBA, and hopefully Derrick Rose comes back and doesn't get hurt. And you have the best defensive coach in the NBA. I mean, Chicago's a great fit. You hear Houston.
It's a great fit for anyone. It's a great fit for you. Chicago's a great place. I mean, I'm looking when we were talking about the Kevin Love going to Golden State. I know that's the first place everybody wants him to go. They have David Lee, who we kind of agreed was like a lesser version of Kevin Love.
He's Kevin Love 1.0.
He's getting 14 and 9 a night on a very offensive heavy. Now you throw David Lee up to Minnesota, he's not getting 14 and 9. He's getting 20 and 13, 14 maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we're underselling Kevin Love a little bit maybe by throwing David Lee in the same because Kevin Love shoots it from anywhere. Kevin Love is obviously a better basketball player. However, defensively, he's not necessarily guarding anybody. And that's moderately important in the NBA to be able to stop somebody.
Now, I don't get the expectations that have come along with some of these players. If LeBron does anything less than win a championship, it's a joke. Oh, it's LeBron, he's not the best of all time then. Carmelo, and maybe I'm a little too New York media heavy, but he's not getting nearly enough blame. Whenever you hear, and maybe it's because he plays in Minnesota, whenever you hear Kevin Love's name, it's exactly what you said. Hasn't ever been to the playoffs, and it's all on him.
Yeah.
I feel like every time someone talks about Carmelo Anthony, who's going to be a free agent same time as Kevin Love, it's always someone else's fault. It's always Dolan's fault for not giving him the people. It's always whoever's GMing the team at that time. He doesn't have the supporting cast.
See, I think that's obviously you're a New York guy, so you look at things a little differently. I think from an outsider's perspective, Melo, I don't even think people bother criticizing him anymore because he's just not seen as a winner. He's not seen as a guy who makes people better. So it's not necessarily shocking. Like now, I think we've settled into the Carmelo theory of, hey, the guy can score. He's like a modern day Dominique Wilkins.
See, that's the right way to look at it, but I disagree.
He's not a winner, and it doesn't shock anybody when he doesn't win. So talking about it anymore has gotten boring. Now we've moved on to the next person.
See, but I think for someone like him, I don't mean to cut you off. For someone like him, if he heard you say something like that, and maybe that is the way people look at him, that would drive him insane. He would never think that that's the case.
Didn't you reference his clothing line about 20 minutes ago?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's off doing his clothing line.
He's off doing that thing.
Hey, bro, you haven't won anywhere. Put the clothes down.
That's the mentality in New York. I think there's 0% chance he stays, which leads us into the next topic. Steve Kerr was all but a lock in New York with Phil Jackson being the GM now.
Yeah.
He just leveraged New York to get that Golden State job, which is a much, much, much better job.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was playing chess on that one. That was a smart move. I honestly, I thought it was the other way around. I thought he was leveraging Golden State against the Knicks.
He's got his family is in San Fran. His kids go to Cal or something. She's a volleyball player.
He's got a great relationship with Joe Lacob, and that's the thing. I didn't think they would be able to get a very good coach because, the rumors coming out of there, if you read some Rick Ruker, who works for the Warriors, broadcast team, he's got a lot of in-depth knowledge in that situation. That Joe Lacob guy is basically turning into a Jerry Jones type situation in Golden State. He's real hands-on. Bucher was referencing how he played rec basketball at Stanford. So he thinks that gives him the credentials to sit down and talk basketball with Bob Myers and Mark Jackson and implement and apparently he talks to the players before the games, and Mark Jackson didn't appreciate that. And so Mark Jackson created this bubble, whereas like us against the world, the locker room, even against the front office. And obviously the front office didn't take too kindly to that. The players absolutely loved him. See Mark Jackson. But what coach, who wants to be a lame duck coach? So it'll be interesting to see Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr is apparently the kind of guy who really he was a GM in Phoenix. He wants to run the show. So again, it's going to be interesting to see this owner and him coexist. But they have a very
zero
good
coaching experience.
Yeah, but they have a very. I mean, I feel you. I mean, that's definitely important. But for an intelligent guy who's been around the game his entire life, run a front office successfully, he already has a prior relationship with Steph Curry. I mean, they hit the jackpot with him. That's a great hire, and it's pretty funny to see somebody say no to Phil Jackson. I mean, I can't think of how many times people probably said no to Phil. So that was tough. And now Phil's trying to hire Derek Fisher.
Well, that's the next thing I wanted to talk about. It's a disaster, and they're trying to, I feel like, just smother the fire. It drives me crazy being a Knicks fan or an ex-Knicks fan. Every year at the end of the season, I say, I'm done with this team, and every season my wife says, you say that every single year when they don't make the playoffs or they get eliminated in the first round. Why? I understand you're in no rush to hire a coach. That's fine. You don't need to just yet. A couple weeks, yes. Waiting for somebody who not only has never coached, is in the middle of the playoffs, and hasn't even said, I'm not definitely guaranteed to retire. Derek Fisher is the number one option right now.
What does that tell you, though? I think the bigger picture is there's not a lot of great options out there. You don't want to. Do you want to go retread George Karl?
I say you go after Jeff Van Gundy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jeff Van Gundy.
His heart's in New York. He's said that. I've heard him say he would absolutely listen if the Knicks came calling. I think that is all the enticement you need to go get Van Gundy. If Van Gundy came back to coach New York, everyone remembers him hanging on to Alonzo Mourning's leg. He came back to New York. You know what? Even though next year is going to be an absolute disaster for the Knicks with Carmelo and Amari and Chandler's contracts, I'm getting a little bit excited about the Knicks if he comes back.
I was going to say, if you hire him, you're getting the fan base excited.
Yeah,
for
sure.
And
I'll be okay waiting a year.
That's one guy.
Who's the coach?
Who's after that, though? I mean, Van Gundy and then who?
But they're not even saying Van Gundy yet. This is what I'm saying. Not that we're splitting the atom here on the show, but you're going after a guy who's got three things working against him. He's still playing in the playoffs, has not said he's going to retire, and has never coached before.
No, I agree.
On.
Well, I mean, I will argue always that the NBA, at the end of the day, as great as Popovich is a players' league. It's a players' league. You're not going to sit here and tell me that Eric Spoelstra is some basketball genius that popped out of the womb and reinvented the way the game was played. No, he landed in a place where he's got the best player in the world on his team, followed by other very good players. And if the bottom line is you have to have good players. The Knicks do not have good players. They're
not going to next year.
They have bad chemistry, bad contracts, zero flexibility. It's a very bad situation. Phil's going to hire Kurt Rambis. I was reading this morning.
He's
basically just hiring his friends and people he's familiar with, which is fine. It's his right. And until Phil fails, who am I to say that, to criticize Phil? I've never seen Phil fail. So, until that day happens, it's like the whole I equate it to the Peyton Manning thing when Peyton was coming back from the neck injury. Mm-hmm. All these pundits. Oh, he might not even make it 6 games. Oh, he might be paralyzed. Oh, he's not going to be good. His arm strength. Right. I've never seen Peyton Manning be bad at playing quarterback. So it was hard for me to fathom him being bad. Mm-hmm. I'd never seen it. And what did he do when he came back? He was fantastic. Yeah. So until I see Phil, make a train wreck out of it, I have to believe that they're going to be a better basketball team.
Peyton Manning had a great quote. He gave the commencement address at I forget which school this past weekend. And, it's tough to get a job coming out of college now. It's tough to get a job for anybody. We're lucky to be here, UBN Radio. He said, just keep in mind, kids, that that Noah's Ark was built by an amateur and the Titanic was built by professionals. I thought that was a phenomenal quote.
That is good. That is a very good
That's why
quote.
You should be tuning into us on UBN Radio.
He gets a lot of flack, that guy with his large head, but he's very entertaining.
Oh, he's got a monster forehead.
That's
it's
like a 9 head.
Especially when he's playing in cold weather and the helmet.
Yeah, crazy.
Real quick, let's talk some tennis real quick. Like 30 seconds worth of tennis.
Go.
If you know anything about tennis, Rafael Nadal is probably the most dominant player on clay court of all time on any surface of any
Hands down,
player.
not even
He's
an
just
argument. Yep.
he's
Lost
outrageous.
yesterday. Struggling
Been
going into
struggling
the French
a little
Open.
bit. Now,
Yeah.
struggling for him is winning in Spain, getting to the finals in Rome. For anybody else in the world, that is a pretty good couple weeks.
For him, the betting line, I haven't looked, but I'm guessing it's somewhere like for the French Open coming up, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of you'd have to wager close to maybe $180 to $200 to win 100. He's probably almost a 2-1 favorite.
Yeah,
to
win the whole thing.
To win the whole thing, and that puts like even the second place guy, which would be Djokovic, around even money. It goes back to like the Heat Pacers thing. That's why he's like these Grand Slam tournaments with 5 sets in a 3-set match. It's a guy can get hot for 2 sets and beat a good player. To beat a guy 3 out of 5 sets, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
So it's like the Peyton thing. Until I see him show up there and not dominate, I can't like wrap my head around him not doing it because it's what he's always done.
On clay, and again, if you guys are listening and you don't follow tennis, we got the French Open coming up next week. We're going to do a tiny little preview next week, even halfway through. But Rafael Nadal's the most dominant player on this surface. He has a career record on clay of 311-24.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty solid.
Not bad.
At Rome, or in Rome, where he just lost in the final, 45-3. That is insane. He has a total of 44 titles on clay.
He's fun to watch, man. For anybody out there who's maybe
him.
like just a random tennis fan, tune into these major tournaments, French Open, Wimbledon. I mean, watching mano a mano sports it's a rarity. I mean, it's pretty much golf isn't really it's not a man versus like a guy versus a field. It's the only sport we have where a guy is kind of playing another guy. And it's fun to just watch, like even my non-tennis fans that watch and buddies I talk to, just you can just see the emotions, and it's just a guy out there by himself. And when he starts struggling, you can see a guy get down on himself and then bring himself up, the momentum and in the mental part of it. It really is compelling stuff. It's fun to watch, and the clay courts are great because they're really long matches.
Oh yeah.
I mean, those dudes are out there like 7 hours.
That's your little fireside chat with Jay Devlin. When we come back, we're going to take another break real quick. We are going to get into a little controversy in gambling, which a lot of people might not know a lot about. And for the first time ever, we are going to do your Lazy Man's movie review, talking about $1 Million Arm. That's what we're going to finish up with. Get us on Twitter. We need more Twitter action. We are at Mostly M&J on Twitter. I'm at Mike Scavati. Jay's at JFDev76. And give us a call. I've said the number enough. If you don't know it by now, look at the screen. It is right on there.
Call in. Ask us a question.
Ask us anything. Anything you want. Fast food. I'm looking at this message board. It's still going nuts with fast food. We'll be back in a few. Mostly Mike and Jay.